In this next Python video, I want to build on the idea of variables and talk about how you can get the user to input values into those variables for you. We saw in the last video how you can declare basically three types. There are other types of variables as well, but a string variable, integer, and a real number or a float variable. And you assign values. It gets assigned that into a value in RAM somewhere. It's stored, and then you can use those values in output statements and stuff. And then you can do changes to them and do them again. Part of this video, if I get to it, if not this next video, we're going to talk about how it gets a little complicated with Python, how you distinguish between a string, an integer, and a real. I said in the last video or in the homework posting, I made an error. I don't know if any of you caught it. I said age would be an integer, and I put 29 there, did my business, and then I changed them, and I put 3.8. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. 3.8 is not an integer value. That was a mistake, but it's not really a mistake. Python is a little bit loosey-goosey with how it uses variables. If any of you ever learned to program in Java, they're very strict in Java. You have a real or you don't have a real. You have an integer or you don't. And if you do something like that, you're going to get an error. It's going to say, hey, what are you doing? Python, like a lot of languages, I'll use the French analogy. You guys have to learn French and you learn something about verbs, and then you learn the exceptions, and then there's the exceptions to the exceptions. I think a lot of languages have rules and exceptions and things that don't work, and Python's no different. And I hope in the next video or two, this ambiguity will be a little more clear. So jumping in to the 6th program, all I did was take my 5th program. I did a save as, changed the name. Okay, so that's a nice little trick. You can just save, and I started to modify it. For this one, name, age, and height, just to be something different. Doesn't really change much. I put an introduction screen just for fun. Some of you know why I use these blank lines. It's just a style thing. Start off with the input command. This is a new command, and it allows me to prompt or ask the user to input their values, and then those values will get stored into RAM. It's not a hard thing to do. Input command, brackets, that's the syntax. You got to have those brackets. There's your string, what you say is your prompt. Please enter your name. When that gets inputted, that value the user types will be assigned to that variable stored somewhere in RAM. Input their age, stored in RAM. Input their height, stored in RAM. Some of you guess why I've used these blank print statements. And then at the bottom, I print out, go back to RAM, whatever the user inputted, and then I put them out. Let's see if it works. Press F5, and it pops up, just like we expected. Now, there's my cheesy little input screen from up here. And right now, the cursor is blinking away. Please enter your name. So this input command right there is waiting for me to input some name. And when I do it, it's going to get stored in RAM. So I type in Meyer, and I press enter. Boom, it's done. Blank line, just for style. Please enter your age in years. There's that input command. In the last ones, we assigned a value. This time I'm asking the user, hey, give me a number, give me a number. I'll put in a 12, doesn't really matter. And then my height, 35.56 or something, I don't know, make it up. And away I go. And that's that. Now, you can write any kinds of programs that you want. And you can ask the user, you can make your prompts, and you can do your style stuff. That's how an input command works. Not that hard to go. What I want to look at now, and this is where the variable thing is going to start to get messy, is this conditional statement, an if statement. Okay? Now, down here, I put in a conditional if statement I'm going to show you, but I blocked it out so that it wouldn't run while I was doing the first part of this example. In the Python IDE, there's this very, very useful little option called comment out a region. So you highlight a whole section and say comment it out, and it puts in comments everywhere. So it just sort of blocks it out, but it doesn't erase it, delete it. It's very useful when you're coding. I'm going to uncomment it, and now I have this command ready for me. So how does an if statement work? Basically, it checks a condition to see if it's true or false. It's not hard, but it can get very tricky to follow your own logic sometimes. Here's how it goes. If statement, you take a variable and you check a condition. So basically, you're checking if this condition is true or it's false. That's it. And this is the most simple if statement you can do. I'm going to show more complicated ones in a bit, but run off to RAM, find that variable, get the value, and compare it. Is age less than 12? True? Do this. False? Don't do that. Now, this semicolon tells you, or tells the compiler, not me, tells the compiler what to do if it's true or false. Okay? So anything that's been indented will be done if it's true. If it's not true, oops, I can do something like this. Okay, so if it's true, it will do this and it will do this. If it's not true, it will do this. It just keeps going. If it's true, it will do this. And then the next line is here, and the next line is here. So it will do it no matter what. It will do this command even if it's true or false, because it's outside. Now, just to be crazy confusing, if I put the print statement there, because it's indented, it will do all three of these if that condition is true. But if that condition is false, the computer will jump down here and keep going, and there's nothing else to do in the sense. So you have to be careful with your if statement. If you have something like this, then when it's true, it only does this, and when it's false, it will do this regardless, if that makes sense. As a style thing, I would do something like that. So you remember, if that's true, do that, and then do this. If that's false, skips this and does this anyway. Okay, I'm going to stop there, because if I run this program now, I'm going to get an error. And that's an error I want to talk about in the next video. You can try and make a few simple programs with an input command now and give it a go and see what happens. If you want to try an if statement, you'll probably get an error, and I'm going to talk about that in the next video. That's it for now.